Alright, so finally we are getting to the end of the Alhaitham train that, basically we've been on for a long minute making videos. And we are going to be talking about Alhaitham's guide for dummies. Now we're going to be talking about his teams, his artifacts, his weapons, his skills, all that type of stuff regarding Alhaitham and how to use them. Because yes, he is a little bit more of a complex character than other characters, but with this guy it shouldn't be that hard to figure out or know how to use them with the best of your ability. So let's get right into it. We're going to be talking about Alhaitham's talents, of course, first. For his talents, we are going to be leveling them up all together at this point. You can change up a little bit how you level it up, but for the most part, you're going to want to level up the normal attack and the skill first. And then the ult. The ult is really good, but it's not a priority because that is not his main source of DPS. Rather, it's a way for him to generate mirrors, but we're going to get into that very soon. So, talking about Alhaitham, a lot of these skills are going to talk about other mechanics, so it is going to have to be a little bit of a back and forth between a lot of what I'm going to talk about. So, starting with his normal attack. His normal attack string is important a little bit because when you charge attack with his normal attack, you gain Dendro Infusion. Now, these Dendro Infusion comes out when you have a chiseled mirror, and each chiseled mirror has 4 seconds on their timer. You can have them come up in a various amount of ways, which we're going to be talking about throughout this guide. And when you charge attack, he gets 1, and that mirror lasts for 4 seconds, and you get Dendro Infusion for 4 seconds. Now, talking about the mirrors, we are going to have to go over it in depth after this talents because a lot of it has to deal with the talents, so bear with me on that. So charge attack gives you 1 mirror, and then you start getting Dendro Infusion, and you can go crazy with your normal attacks, or put in some charge attacks in that string. Other than the normal attacks, we do have his skill. Now his skill is a little bit more advanced, I guess you could say, in the way you use it, because when you use his skill, there are 2 different versions. He has his tap E, or his tap skill, and his hold skill. His tap skill just lunges him forward and makes it so that you get close to the enemy, and it does a good amount of damage, and I mean a good amount of damage. But the thing is, it does have 2 conditions with it. This also applies to the hold E, with the hold E being able to choose the direction, kind of like how Kaching has it, and then you're able to plunge attack afterwards. This plunge attack can happen no matter what. Even if you point it at the ground, you will be able to plunge attack like this. This is really cool. But let's talk about the mirrors for his E. So for his E, when you tap E or hold E, when you do it when you have no mirrors on the field at the moment, you will get 2 mirrors. Now these 2 mirrors of course have 4 seconds on each of them, so you're going to be 8 seconds in total, and that will be the Dendro Infusion, also buffing your mirror state basically. If you do have mirrors on the field, at least 1 or more, you will only gain 1 mirror additionally from the E that you're about to do. So if you have none, you get 2. If you have 1, you get 1. So that's how his E works, and it's a little bit of a conditional E because it matters how many mirrors you have on the field. Is usually what I open up with that way, so I can get 3 mirrors off of his plunge attack, which it does go with his hold E, which is the more useful one. If you hold E on the enemy or you put it anywhere and you plunge attack right after, you will get level 3 chisel mirrors, or you get 3 chisel mirrors, and that will make his damage go up significantly. So it's a lot better to hold E, plunge attack, get those 3 mirrors, and then go crazy with them, because that is a much better usage of mirrors than it is to just hold E or tap E. Get the 2, and then you could possibly, I don't know, it's just a little bit hard to get the 3 mirrors without doing the plunge attack. But other than that, that is pretty much it for his skill. It is a little bit more than what you probably would have imagined, but we're gonna get into that in a quick second. For his ult is a small cage, or a moderately sized cage, that does lots of damage while the bullets are bouncing through the mirrors, going left and right, all that type of stuff, and it will generate mirrors depending on how many you have. This also chooses the amount of length that is in the cage as well. So if you have 0 mirrors, you will have short length, but you get all 3 mirrors at the end of the ult. If you have 1 mirror, you'll get a slightly longer ult, but you'll only get 2 mirrors back. If you have 2 mirrors, you will get a more longer, I guess you could say, ult, and then you only get 1 mirror back. If you do 3 mirrors, you'll get the longest ult possible, and you'll be able, well, not be able, you're gonna lose all your mirrors. You won't generate any after the ult, and that's pretty much the trade-off for having such a long ult time and doing lots of damage. So you're gonna want to usually open up with this, that way you can get the 3 mirrors, and after you get the 3 mirrors, you can use your E with the plunge attack, and you're gonna get all your 3 mirrors back again. It's really good to have this up for your Dendro Infusion. For Spiral Abyss, it helps a lot because you just pop your ult, get the 3 mirrors, do what you need to do, And then when it comes time to get your mirrors again, you just do the hold E, plunge, get your 3 mirrors back, and you know, he relatively gets his energy back pretty fast in my opinion. If you have a little bit of energy recharge, I think that'll make do to be able to give him his burst when he needs it. Talking about the mirrors now, because that is the main mechanic of him as a character. There are a lot of different ways you can get these mirrors. 1 from your charge attack, 2 from your E or hold E when you have no mirrors, 1 from your hold E or tap E when you have 1 mirror or 2 mirrors. And then his ults, depending on how many mirrors you have up, you will subtract or minus 1, 2, or 3 mirrors depending on the ult length and you know how many mirrors you had previously. So there's a lot of different ways to get these mirrors up. Now the thing with these mirrors is that depending on how many mirrors you have is the projection attacks that you get, and these projection attacks are the main source of his DPS, so you're going to want to really invest in his skill. Now his projection attack changes within his level, so for his first level he gets a small little swipe from his mirrors, and his swipe does pretty much good amounts of damage. Not as big of a radius for his AoE, but it's really nice to have. His second level is like a spinning sword, you know, going in a moon shape, I guess you could say, or a C in front of him. This has a much bigger radius for his AoE and does lots amount of damage, and I think it's really nice to have, especially clears out a lot of enemies in front of you. It's really nice to see. And then his last one is his level 3 projection attack, which is the fire or the rain of swords falling to the ground in a really straightforward path in front of you. That covers a very large radius, a very big AoE, and that is one of Alhaitham's, you know, pros, is that he's a normal attacker, but with his normal attacks, he's doing absolutely crazy amounts of damage to other enemies and having big AoE for someone that's supposed to be doing normal attacks. So he is really cool unit. A lot of these things do lots of damage, clear out a lot of enemies super quick because of how big of a radius it is in AoE. And we're gonna go ahead and start talking about his weapon. Now Alhaitham's weapon is the Light of Foliar Incision. Crit damage 88%. It gives you some crit rate, and you also get elemental damage, not elemental damage, but increasing damage dealt with your normal attacks and elemental skills based on your elemental mastery. So it's absolutely amazing weapon. Other weapons that can work on him, of course, you know, you can put a stat stick on him regarding 5 stars. The Zephos Moonlight could help because he does need elemental mastery for his scaling, and it also helps with his reactions because that's what we're going to talk about during his team section. But the Zephos Moonlight can help. It'll help you get your ult faster. It'll help you have a lot more elemental mastery. So this is a really good weapon to use. Another one is the Tokubu Shigure, another elemental mastery weapon, and also increases the damage dealt to enemies that are affected with the Curse Parasol effect. So this is a really nice sword to have. Other than that, you know, like the Black Sword, the Blacklift Longsword, all of these can work honestly because they do have relatively good passives for, not passives, but they're relatively good stat sticks for Alhaitham. Other than that, you can play around maybe Sacrificial Sword. I don't know. You want to pop your ult a bunch of times or have your E up a bunch of times. That'd be really cool to play with. Other than that, that's pretty much it when it comes to his swords. Just basically stat sticks, or these two, this free-to-play weapon, which was the Tokubu Shigure, or the Zephos Moonlight, which hasn't appeared in a minute, but this is a really good sword to play with. Another option, although you will have to make sure that you do have what is it called? You do have a shield on, is the Harbinger of Dawn, because he is EM scaling for the most part, and you're gonna rely on that EM scaling. You can take a small hit in your attack with the Harbinger of Dawn. You can have a good amount of crit damage, and you can get a lot of crit rate when it's refined up to where it needs to be. I'm not sure if I can find my max refined one, but you're going to get a lot of crit rate, and you're also going to get a lot of crit damage from this sword, so this can work as well, and a lot of people probably have this sword, so it's a really good option to use when coming to Alhaitham's weapon. Another thing that you should notice is his artifacts. Now his artifacts, he has 2 different sets he could possibly be on. One being Gilded Dreams, which I think is his best set. It gives him elemental mastery, and based on his team, he can get some attack or elemental mastery, which he will both be able to, I guess you'd say, benefit from. Especially on his main teams, is going to be a lot of him getting attack, and then he also gets a little bit of elemental mastery, which is going to play into the resonance that you're going to get from Dendro, because one of his best teammates is Dendro. But yeah, you're gonna want to run standard DPS build, kinda crit damage, crit rate, try to fit in some elemental mastery in there, try to fit in some attack, because you do need both, but elemental mastery would be preferred. That's pretty much it for the substats. For the stands, you are going to want to run Elemental Mastery because you are going to want to run Alhaitham with Electro to get those big nasty looking numbers. You want to get those 20Ks, 30Ks out on the field to all these enemies, and that will happen if you're able to have enough Elemental Mastery, and the Elemental Mastery sand piece actually helps a lot with that. Of course, the Dendro Damage Goblet, but a lot of people are suffering, you know, from not being able to have a good one. You can see right here, I will take the Elemental Mastery in the crit rate, I guess, but this is the best Dendro Goblet I have at the moment. And then, you know, the crit rate, crit damage circlet, add some crit rate, crit damage in the substat, maybe some Elemental Mastery, that will help a lot. But you are going to want to run Gilded Dreams with that set, or you can run the Deepwood Memories. It'd be able to give you Dendro damage bonus, and you'll be able to take away some Dendro Shred as you're doing your skill. So this helps a lot, but sometimes you are going to want to run the Deepwood Memory set in another character, which if you do have this other character I'm about to mention in this team section, then, you know, let her be the carrier of it because it would benefit her more than it would benefit Alhaitham. For his constellations, his best constellations are 1, 2, and if I'm not wrong, actually all of them are actually pretty nice. But the most value is his C1. His C1 lowers the cooldown on his E or his skill. His cooldown for his skill is very, very long. If I'm not wrong, it's 18 seconds. That is a very long time. It's a possible chance that you may be finished with your Dendro Infusion, and you'll pop your teammates' buffs, and it'll still be on cooldown. It's a possibility. The only problem with that, of course, is it's going to be a little bit clunky. You're going to feel a little bit more rigid playing Alhaitham. C1 is a really, really good constellation because just like Hu Tao's stamina consumption, you know, basically decreases by a lot once you have C1. This is kind of a similar thing where he feels a lot more smoother, a lot more cleaner when having C1 as, you know, Alhaitham. So that's if you want to try to, you know, build Alhaitham to be the best he can be. C1 is a really good stopping point. C2 does some nice Elemental Mastery boosting. C4 helps you with Dendro damage bonus, and you'll be able to give party members Elemental Mastery, which I don't think this one's really that good in all honest opinion. And then C6 is your normal, you know, crit rate, crit damage buff like crazy. So C1, C2 really nice, C1 best value. And like I said before, talent, you're going to want to level up your E and your normal almost moderately at the same time. Then his ult can wait. You can level it up to whatever you want to. I do think he's a triple crown type character. And with this, you know, go as you please. I'm still taking some time to triple crown him because I don't have enough materials from the weekly bosses, so I'm waiting on that. But yeah, normal attack, skill first, and then his ult. But they're all amazing talents. After that, you are gonna have, of course, your passives. And his passive is charge attacks, plunging attacks, give him a mirror like I said before. And every single point of Elemental Mastery will increase his damage dealt by the projection attacks. This is why they do so much damage and why you want to scale off the EM and why you want to have those reactions come out with Electro, because they basically all synergize very, very well together. And then of course, weapon essential materials, you get the 10% chance of doubling it. Other than his weapons, artifacts, and talents, you are going to want to take a look at the possible teams that he can be in. Now, he can be in a lot of really cool teams. But his very best team, in my honest opinion, is this one right here. Alhaitham, Kuki Shinobu, Yelan, and Nahida. Kuki, of course, super easy electro application and healing, which honestly helps you free up a slot from having to bring out Kokomi, having to bring out other healers, because Kuki is doing that for you. She's healing you, and she's also providing electro around you because she has that ring that pulses, and it helps Alhaitham because he's so close to the enemies. He's going to be able to hit these guys for a moderate amount of time, especially with, you know, rushing at them, pressing E. He's going to be getting those reactions off just being near them, and that's perfect what Kuki does. Yelan, very good for Overworld, upcoming unit as well. Her ult, of course, synergizes with Alhaitham because he is going to be doing normal attacks. And with Dendro and Hydro, you're going to be able to create cores. And guess what? Kuki is going to be able to explode them. And since she's going to be on Elemental Mastery, I guess you'd say build, you're going to be hitting some crazy numbers with those cores, and Alhaitham, so it's going to be absolutely nasty. And of course, Nahida there for Dendro Resonance, getting the Elemental Mastery up there by 50%. And then when you do reactions, you get more Elemental Mastery, so it's all really, really good synergy. She also has EM sharing, which is really, really nice for Alhaitham, because of course it's going to make him do more damage. So yeah, there's lots of synergy in this team. You can switch out some characters, like if you don't have Kuki, maybe use Beidou for her ult because it does synergize as well. If you don't have Yelan, use Xingqiu. If you don't have Nahida, the EM sharing, I guess you could do C2 Kazuha if you have him, or you could do Sucrose, which wouldn't really mesh well with this team and you losing Dendro Resonance, but it does help Alhaitham in the end. If you don't have any of those characters, you can use Dendro Traveler, it still works really well. There are other teams you could probably use like Alhaitham, Kuki, Beto, and Nahida, so that you can get full reactions with Electro. You could rock a Nilo Bloom team, which is really fun. Not his best damage, but you will have someone to fill in those gaps of time where you're just attacking. It's a lot of really cool teams that you can run with Alhaitham, and he's a pretty fun character. So other than that, that's going to be pretty much it for the Alhaitham's guide for dummies. Hopefully you were able to understand that. It was a really fun video to make because I enjoy this character so very much. He's one of my favorites to this day. I never thought he'd be my main DPS on my teams, but you know, here he is now. So other than that, thank you guys so much for watching. See you on the next one, and peace.